Good morning and welcome back to Flashback Friday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be taking another retro look through of the Battletech Technical Readout 3058 from 1995. Now, this technical readout is the last of the technical readouts that was done by Mr. Duane Loose, who is more popularly known for Tech Readout 3025 and 3026, but also did Tech Readout 3055. Now, the reason I wanted to take a look at this one, number one, because I love looking at tech readouts anyways, but I did think it would be a nice little kind of capstone to the majority of the work that Mr. Loose did. But also, this is kind of for me, it was the high point of Battletech as, well, actually at that point I wouldn't have even been a kid anymore. But it has a lot of mechs that have since become iconic, whether it's because they were a totem mech for a particular clan, or they featured very prominently in the cartoons, or were used in the MechWarrior video games. And so there's a lot of fun in here, but I will admit, it's one that I haven't actually gotten to play with a lot. When it came out, was basically at a time frame where I ended up leaving the country for a couple of years. So even this copy, I never purchased it new. I managed to get it at the secondhand bookstore afterwards. So it's going to be kind of fun because there's some stuff where it's going to be almost brand new for me to be looking at it. But also there's going to be a lot in there that I'm already pretty familiar with. So before we get started then, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, whether it's board games, miniatures, role-playing, or anything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. Also, don't forget, there are going to be links down below to both DriveThruRPG and Amazon. They're affiliate links. If you choose to use them, they do help out the channel. I'd very much appreciate it. So, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is the technical readout. It is featuring the Bushwhacker on the cover. Now, the Bushwhacker was featured not only in the Battletech cartoon, but it was also, at least to me, it was kind of one of the central mechs of the MechWarrior 3 video game. So it ended up showing up a lot, and it's one that, like, just the design, I really like it. It has a lot of just kind of, off-center things. Don't necessarily look balanced as far as design. It's not very symmetrical, so it just gives it a fun look. Especially when you look at, like here on the cover where it's got the World War II kind of shark's teeth look to it. It's just a little bit of extra fun. So on the back, basically when it came out, we're looking at $18, which, I mean, when you adjust for inflation, that's about the normal price. But even then, still not too bad. At the time, you could get gaming books generally in the $20 range, especially if they're soft cover and mostly black and white. So, pretty decent pricing there. But let's go ahead and start looking at the art as I get some stuff out of the way. So, like all other technical readouts, it was done as sort of an in-universe, sort of like a Jane's technology type book. For the art, the key here was Joel Biskey did some of the color plates, and then we have Duane Loose and John Paul Lona for the black and white illustrations. So I don't even know what mech that is. At this point in the game, the clan invasion has been going on for 6 years. So that's why, for the thumbnail, I said mired in war. Basically, it's, the truce of Tukayyid has now been in place for a few years, but this is when battles such as Twycross happen. This is when the wolves get essentially conquered by the Jade Falcons. It's when you see the split between the Clan Wolf and Clan Wolf in Exile. So a lot of stuff is happening at this particular time frame. When we get to it, this book also introduces the first inner sphere, the first inner sphere Omnimechs. So definitely some development of the technology in the game. So, as is typical for the technical readouts, we're going to start with the vehicles. So we've got the Sprint Scout helicopter. Need to get cameras and lights and stuff out of the way. My brain has never really locked into helicopters very well in Battletech, mostly because of the fact that the rotors only have 2 armor, and then everyone has to remind me that no, this thing is supposed to be zooming 20 hexes or so around the battlefield, so it's not supposed to be getting hit. So I always forget that. The Maltier Hover APC, Centipede Scout Car. I will admit, vehicles are definitely a weakness of mine in Battletech. Warrior H8 Attack Helicopter. Mostly because I always want to play the big stompy robots. But that is one of the things that I think is cool about Battletech, is the fact that it has everything available. The Cavalry Attack Helicopter, the Kestrel. And so anyways, I like the idea of combined arms, but I usually end up just playing with the mechs. So, I don't know. It's a mix. Let's see. This is a Wolf's Dragoons Omni vehicle. So Badger tracked transport. The Galleon light tank. One thing I will say about the art, it very much looks like the art that Duane Loose produces. The Karnov transport. But it's also a lot cleaner. It still kind of has the sketch look to it, but it's very much cleaner along the edges of the art. You'll still see some of like the little sketch lines that kind of come off, but he's also very much cleaned everything up. Like I said, this was 95, so this is now 11 years after, maybe 9 years after Tech Readout 3025. So he's definitely gotten much better with some of the art. There's some that's still a little questionable. The Yellow Jacket, but overall, it's like looking at a Palladium role-playing book. When you see this, you know it's Duane Loose, and it just kind of evokes a lot of that nostalgia. The Hunter Light Support Tank, Pegasus Scout Hover Tank, Plainsman Medium Hover Tank, Striker Light Tank, Goblin Infantry Support Vehicle, Regulator Hover Tank, Bandit Hovercraft. They're all just fun designs. Fulcrum Heavy Hover Tank, Maxim Heavy Hover Transport. Some of these are tongue twisters. Vedette Medium Tank, the infamous SRM or LRM Carrier. So basically we're looking at 8 or 9 SRM6 or 3 LRM20, all with Artemis 4 fire control. Manticore heavy tank, Poe heavy tank, Tokugawa heavy tank, Pilum heavy tank, Typhoon urban assault vehicle, Brutus assault tank, Padilla heavy artillery tank with the Arrow 4 missile system, Zhukov heavy tank, Partisan air defense with twin LB-10X and twin AC-2s, Challenger X, Alicorn Mark 6, Ontos, and that's all of our vehicles. The vehicles, I will admit, sometimes it's a little frustrating, especially when it reuses names that we're already familiar with. Like Challenger, things like that. Would have been kind of cool to see if they'd integrated some of those designs, made them look proper, but who knows. All right, so getting into the battle mechs. All right, so first up, we do have the color plates. So these are all by James Bisk. Joel Bisk, sorry. All right. Sorry, Mr. Bisk. All right. So we've got the Raptor. Now, these are all, I think the color plates are all Omni-Mechs. Yes, these are all the Inner Sphere Omni-Mechs. So, basically, you get the advantages of Omni-Mechs with the disadvantage of Inner Sphere weapons and equipment. The Owens, the Strider, and I believe all of this art was replaced when they did the upgrade, and it was just switched over to the black and white art. A Firestarter Omni-Mech, the Blackjack Omni-Mech. It's a Blackjack. Do we really need an upgrade to a Blackjack? The Blackhawk KU, so this is the Kurita version of the Nova mech. The Avatar, also a Kurita version of the Mad Dog or Vulture. The Sunder. And then we get into our black and white. So we've got the Nexus, the Falcon Hawk, the Nighthawk. Again, very much Duane Loose stylings, which I like. Some people don't. Me, this is what says Battletech to my head. The Talon, the Chameleon, which they do have a new plastic of. The Enfield, the Raijin, the Starslayer. All right, the Bushwhacker. I love this piece of art. Just the it looks a lot more menacing than the one that you see on the cover. It looks a lot bulkier, even than you would expect from a 55-ton mech. But it's great. Again, all of the asymmetry with the arms, with this missile pod up here, which is supposed to be an LRM-5, but it looks like there's only 3 missiles in it. Actually, you probably can't see it. It's probably just in a cross formation. You know what? I'm just going to go with it. I tried to talk about Peanut Gallery, about the banging, which I normally don't do in the recorded videos, but we're just going to go with it. All right, so we've got the line holder. The links. Now, a lot of these have not made it into plastic. But when we get to the clan section, you'll actually be kind of surprised. There's a lot of clan mechs that have been upgraded to the Ill clan era. We've got Merlin, Cestus, Excalibur, who looks like he's got a melee weapon, or like a what would be a hatchet, but no, instead he's got Artemis 4. Never really understood artillery mechs. Because to me, artillery should always be like multiple maps off, but, you know, whatever. Alright, the Shootist, the Dragonfire, Maelstrom, Grand Crusader, who looks way bigger than his 80-ton size. Like, this thing literally looks massive. Sometimes Mr. Loose is not so great with the perspective. Bakemono. And the Spartan. The Striker. Alright, the Longbow. This is actually kind of interesting because 3058, they finally put the Longbow into a tech readout. The first time that it had ever appeared, because remember, the Longbow is a Macross mech, was in the Succession Wars book. So it's very interesting that this one didn't come out until this time, but they also went through and changed the art. Like, this is a completely new design compared to what you have in Macross in the Succession Wars book. So just kind of interesting that this was the only one that hadn't been printed till now, and then its first to me, the tech readout is the first appearance, even if it's not really. But this is the first appearance with completely new design. And actually, it is one of the designs, the redesigns of the Macross mechs that I actually don't mind. So there's that. All right, we've got the Emperor, the Night Star, the Devastator, which I believe is out, or it's going to be coming as part of Mercenaries. I forget. And then we've got the Mackie. Now, remember, the Mackie is actually the very first battle mech ever made. So this was also kind of the first appearance of the kind of like retro mech. So when they started to go backwards and do some older designs. When I get into some of the later ones like Tech Readout, I think it's like 3075, 3085, they start jumping all over time frames as opposed to, you know, keeping with the progression of the years. So there's a lot more that come later, but this is the first write-up that I'm aware of the very first battle mech. And then we've got the Pillager, the Thunderhawk, and that's it. All right, so now we get to the clan mechs, so we're almost done with this book. I love doing these flip throughs just because it makes me actually like sit down and look at all of the art, which is fun. I love Battletech art. All right, we're gonna start with the Piranha. This is probably one of I think Duane Loose's best designs. It's remained relatively unchanged. Obviously, it's still kind of got the sketch look. It has been upgraded. But the fact that it looks like a fish and the fact that it's mounted with just a whole mess load of machine guns all over the thing. You know, it's supposed to be anti-infantry, but, you know, I have friends who would probably still run it and just hit you with the machine guns. I've got the Fire Falcon, which I believe has been made but also upgraded. The Hankyu, which there isn't a plastic one of yet. Battle Cobra hasn't changed much since this design. The Grendel also hasn't changed much, but again, still a good design. Shadowcat. If you ask me, it's almost a clan version of the Bushwhacker. I realize they weren't developed at the same time, but like just looking at the art, they kind of look like they could be, siblings of some kind. The infamous Hunchback 2C, who doesn't want a pair of Ultra AC-20s with paper-thin armor. The Nobori Nin, which has also been made into plastic. It's definitely gotten an upgrade since this piece of art. The Black Lantern, I do not like this art. It looks like a chicken-legged baby wearing a diaper. That's I don't know why, but that is literally what just sticks in my head. And the fact that my wife has tried to put diapers on chickens to allow them to be indoor chickens doesn't help. We've got the Thresher, the Cauldronborn. Yeah, this one might be closer to the Bushwhacker, but regardless, it's nice. The Crossbow, the Grizzly, the Night Gear, the Kingfisher, the Supernova. I mean, come on. If you already have a mech that's just running just a metric crap ton of medium lasers, why not make a larger one that just runs, large lasers? Works, right? I like Supernovas, don't get me wrong. The Turkina, which the art has been upgraded. This is still pretty close. But it is the biggest, most unwieldy mech, and apparently it has, I didn't realize it has jump jets. So we have an Omni mech that is absolutely massive. It's a 353, so it can't move very far, but it's going to jump there to get to it. And on top of that, the miniature is massive. And then, probably, in my opinion, the greatest totem mech of all time is the Kodiak. It looks like a grizzly bear or Kodiak bear, whatever. It's 100 tons, and it just looks like it's gonna wreck your face. I remember the MechWarrior 2 Ghost Bear's Legacy opening animation when this thing just busts through the ice. Or maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly. I don't know. That's just a vision that I have in my head of playing that game. And this is absolutely great. This is it. Unfortunately, I don't think it shows it off as well as it could, but it's a wonderful piece of art, and a fantastic mech. So yeah, so there's the Kodiak. So that ends it. It does have an appendix to list everything that you can find inside the book. But that is our look through of Tech Readout 3058. As just some final thoughts, like I said before, I love the Technical Readout series. It's fun, it's digestible, and especially for when I was introduced to Battletech, it's just one of those things that you didn't have to read like whole novels worth of information. You could just find a big mech that you like and just sit there and read that little entry. It's a fun series. I've always thought it was a fun series. I'm glad that they're still making them. I know that they've gone through and re-edited a lot of the tech readouts to put everything into particular eras. I have not gotten those tech readouts yet, but to me, these old classics are always fantastic. So I know we just kind of zipped through. I didn't talk about everything, but I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your time here. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and we'd love to have you along. And other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.